I spent the first years of my life in Sindhekala in Western Orissa, a small village. My father wanted me to be the village postmaster. My mother wanted me to be an officer and a poet. Difficult. It was very clear from early on that I would have to migrate. So at the age of 16, I left the village and I have been wandering ever since. I live in Washington, D.C. now. I have been away from India for 25 years. The first year was really difficult. Homesickness was unbearable. Even the small thing like a Hindi film tune that sounds a bit like the country music, a small thing like the onion ring frying that reminds you of pakodas, that would unleash a flood of memories of home, of family, of friends, of love, of care, of dependability. In those moments, I would want to talk to someone, but there were no phones in my village. In those moments then, I would write long letters with tears in my heart. Sending money home, remittances, was important. In those days, the best way to send money home to my village was to actually mail a bank check through airmail. The letter would arrive my father. 2 weeks later, he would then take the bus to go to the next town where the bank was, deposit it in the bank. The bank would send the check to Calcutta for clearance. It would take 8 weeks. It would take 12 weeks, a few trips to the bank, the next town for my father, before he saw the money. I never knew how much the bank charged as fees. I never knew how much the bank charged as foreign exchange commission. At a later stage, when I started working, I sent money home to first replace the mud brick house we had with a concrete house. At some stage, we built 2 classrooms for my high school. There were remittances to friends for business investments. There were remittances to relatives for surgeries. We sent money for long anticipated weddings and unexpected funerals that one could not attend. Many of you are migrants like I. Every 5th Indian is a migrant living outside the state of birth. Non-resident Indians, Indian migrants abroad are about 15 million people, the same size of population as metropolitan Mumbai. These 15 million people have an annual income of more than $200 billion. That's 1/10 of India's national income. India will receive $72 billion in remittances this year. That is more than 3 times, more than twice at least as high as foreign direct investment flows to India. That volume of 72 billion is comparable in size to the revenue from IT exports. Unlike private money, which tends to leave the country at the first sign of trouble, remittances increase when the family back home is in trouble, when the family back home needs the money. Even when migrants are facing difficulties in the country where they are, let's say in Dubai or in the US, they would try to maintain family remittances by skipping meals or sharing accommodation. Remittances are dollars wrapped with love. Most of the migrants from India are not in the US, not in Canada, not in Europe. Most of them are in the Gulf region. About half of them are in the Gulf region. In this region, these are people who are not doctors and nurses. They are construction workers. They are hotel workers. They are helping. They have been instrumental in transforming the desert into living spaces. And yet, these people don't have the permission to have permanent residence in those countries. So everything they earn, they send back home as remittances or investments. Remittances are dollars wrapped with love. Yet, sending money is not cheap. It costs 3% to send money from large corridors like the US or the UAE. It costs 5% just to send money within India through money order. It costs more than 9% to send money from Canada to India. You send $200 you spend $18 or $19 in fees. The reason remittance costs are so high is because of regulations. Regulations to fight money laundering, regulations to go after terrorists. If we simplify regulations, if we recognize that small remittances are not money laundering, remittance costs could be reduced rapidly by promoting entry of new players who have modern technology. The whole idea that we would monitor every remittance transaction to go after the bad guys is like saying we are looking for the needle and we will increase the size of the haystack. Please don't. Small remittances are not money laundering. You recognize that a remittance cost could suddenly fall, rapidly fall, the way telecommunication costs have fallen over the years. If you reduce remittance costs to 1%, that would release $3 billion of additional savings in the hands of poor migrants per year. So in my TED Global talk last year, I proposed the idea of a non-profit remittance platform. I called on social impact investors and philanthropic organizations to help create a non-profit remittance platform which could be made available to money service businesses at a low fixed cost while complying with international regulations. India, the IT capital of this world, India, the largest remittance recipient of this world, should take the lead in creating that non-profit remittance platform. This platform would not only help send remittances, this would also help people, help migrants pay for utilities, pay for healthcare, pay for hospital bills, to target remittances for specific purposes to make better use of the remittances. More importantly, the remittance platform could form the backbone for a people's bank, a bank for the poor people, to provide financial services that poor people need. A little consumer loan here, a small education loan there, a large business loan out there, large by poor people's standards. We need a people's bank. This kind of a people's bank also can help facilitate funding the small and medium enterprises by, for example, using remittances, future remittances as collateral. This is not a new idea. Bonds backed by remittances have been used by Mexico, Brazil, Turkey to raise billions of dollars of financing. India can raise about $9 billion of financing per year through this kind of tool. By the way, Hollywood has used such a tool to finance movies like The Matrix. Bollywood, you might want to copy that as well. In addition to sending remittances, people, migrants out there save a large amount of money also abroad. Most of that money, I estimate that Indian migrant savings per year is about $45 billion. $45 billion per year. Most of that money is parked in bank deposits that give 0% interest rate. If India were to issue a bond and offer 4% interest rate, and then use the money to finance something that the diasporas really like, for example, a school, an airport, a hospital, a bullet train system, many migrants like I would like to invest in these bonds. This is not new to India. India has issued Resurgent India Bond and India Millennium Deposits in the year 1998, in the year 2001, to raise over $9 billion. What is really remarkable, on those bonds, India saved a lot in terms of interest costs. And what is even more remarkable, when the bonds matured, the money did not leave the country, it stayed in India. In addition to remittances, in addition to diaspora savings, there is also the large potential to harness the power of diaspora philanthropy. When we had earthquake in Gujarat, when we had cyclone in Odisha, diaspora groups raised millions of dollars in terms of charity for relief work. In recent times, when Nepal had earthquake in May and June, remittances doubled, more than doubled. Remittances increased by more than $1 billion in 1 or 2 months. That's because Nepalese migrants were sending a lot of money home for reconstruction, for relief. If it were possible to send donations, to make charitable contributions while sending remittances, a lot of migrants would send more money for such purposes, for fighting malaria, for building schools, especially during disasters, especially during Diwali, Eid, or Christmas. India is larger than its size. India needs a lot of resources. India's diaspora can be friends in development, India's development. They can be development partners. Not only financial resources, Indians also can contribute in terms of skill transfers, technology transfers, in terms of promoting trade and tourism, also investment as we talked about before. Diaspora bonds are forever. Diabonds are forever. Soon, I am going to reach an important milestone in my life. I would have spent more time abroad than in India. 4 years ago, my father passed away in the month of June, just before monsoon. We cremated him, or they cremated him, I wasn't there, on the bank of the river, the same river where I used to play, swim, dream. Not far from where my mother and my grandmother were also cremated. On the 10th day of the memorial rites, I was getting my head shaved on the bank of the river. That's when the first monsoon rains hit with force. We were soaked. It was then that we were also thankful that the rains did not come 10 days before, when my father was being cremated under the open sky. It was then that I thought, I'm going to build a simple crematorium, a bedi for my ancestors and the ancestors to be, including myself perhaps someday. Mother and motherland are superior to heaven. Janani janma bhumischa swargadapi gariyasi. Thank you.